sort of just by tapping me with his energy. I'm going to say this, this. But he's specifically kind of rapid firing into this specific location in my brain that has to do with verbal communication. And at that point, I'm no longer hearing any verbatim words because it's just way too fast. Hello, TIP fam. This video is going to look a little bit different from the other ones. I am not channeling for this one. I'm actually talking about channeling. So Mimcat actually asked me to make this video, and it was actually based off something that Stefan briefly touched on in his recent channeling. He was talking about how the channeling was verbal and I was repeating. I don't remember everything that he said about that. But yeah, I'm going to get into that a little bit because I know how that would be interpreted, and the way that we would interpret that wouldn't be entirely accurate. Even though I understand exactly what he means by that and why he's calling it that. So I'll start by saying, first off, when they are coming in for the channeling, I do start to relax very much. I start to get into almost a kind of trance kind of state, but where I am still conscious and I can repeat things. I do speak, but at the same time, I'm not always repeating. So the reason that he calls it a verbal communication is because when they are bringing their energy into me, I'm usually feeling it all along my back, but then especially I'm feeling it at the back of my neck, and I'm feeling it really going into my head, and it seems to really be concentrating on my brain. And what I do know is that there is a specific location in my brain that has to do with like speech, verbal communication, things like that. And they will focus their energy into the back of my neck, and then they will focus their energy into that specific part of my brain where I speak from. And if they are speaking very slowly, so in other words, if they are sending their energy of what they want to say into that location slowly, then they are choosing the words more slowly, more kind of selectively, you could say, and I am hearing it verbatim, and then I'm repeating it. So if there are more pauses, like for instance, when Felika Strina is speaking, almost all of that is verbatim. Sometimes she'll choose to speak a bit faster, but the way that Felika Strina tends to speak is a little bit more slow. And in that case, I'll be hearing it in my head verbatim, and I am not exactly hearing her voice. I'm hearing my own mind's voice that I've sort of given to Felika Strina. So that's in the case of if they are speaking rather slowly, they're taking their time with things, and they want to be a bit more selective. They want to say things more verbatim, where I hear it and I repeat it exactly. Now, if they start to come in more quickly, so let's take Stefan's channeling from before. There are a couple of reasons that Stefan has to bring me into a deeper state than the others do. And so I don't know if you all noticed this, but I noticed how it took longer for him to come in, and it also took longer for him to leave. And there's a couple reasons. One is that he's constantly joking, and sometimes I laugh, and if I laugh too hard, I'm gonna end up just like coming right out of it, eyes open and everything. Which even when he was channeling in that one, you'll notice I started to laugh. Like I wasn't quite tranced out enough not laugh. It was specifically when he was saying that he was bored of talking about the intro. I kind of got the feeling that, okay, this was Falika Strina's idea. She wanted us to do all this. I'm actually kind of bored with this, and I want to get into like teachings and stuff. And then yeah, I kind of lost it there because he's just a whole mood sometimes. And all the council, you know, they're just they're very blunt. They're very, not like in a way of being like mean or rude or something, but they're just like fully just like, this is what I think about this. This is how I feel about that. They're completely an open book. They don't have filters the way that we humans do. They just say like whatever they think and whatever they feel about things. Whereas humans, you know, we tend to tone that shit down. But anyways, so that's one of the reasons he has to pull in more. But another reason is, if you will notice, once he was more sure of exactly what he wanted to say, because he was no longer introducing himself, which he didn't care about as much, and he wanted to get to actual, really meaningful teachings. Once he started talking about that, you'll notice he started speaking very, very quickly. He started speaking much more quickly than before, whereas before there were pauses and things. So at this point, when he is speaking very quickly, if any council member starts speaking like that, it's happening too fast for me to be hearing it verbatim. So now what's happening, the reason he's still calling it a verbal communication is because they're still focusing into this place in my brain that controls verbal communication. It controls speech. But what it would actually be like for Safan in that moment, or Memcat also speaks very quickly sometimes. He didn't in his last one, but sometimes he'll speak even faster than Safan did. In that case, it's almost like the best analogy would be if I were to say, like, you have a computer and the computer has all of these different selections, and you're taking your keypad and you're selecting all the different sort of words that you want. So he is focusing into this place, this place of verbal communication in my brain, and all of my language is there. And so it's almost as if he could see all of the words there, and he kind of just selects them sort of just by tapping me with his energy. I'm going to say this, but he's specifically kind of rapid firing into this specific location in my brain that has to do with verbal communication. And at that point, I'm no longer hearing any verbatim words because it's just way too fast. it's too fast to hear it and then repeat it. There's obviously going to be, you know, more time lapses with that. So at that point, at that point, sometimes I'm like barely even registering it anymore. I just feel I'm even more relaxed than I was. I'm even more in a trance because they're kind of pulling their energy, or pushing their energy, I guess, even more into that location in my brain. And then I'm just kind of going with the flow. I'm just saying all of the words. And I almost don't even know how I'm getting it at that point, because it's just happening like so fast. And I know I'm saying it at that point, but it's not the same as like verbatim like before, and I'm repeating. So he'll still say it's a verbal communication. She's repeating it. But at that point, I mean, yes, I completely understand where he is coming from with that on his end, because he's like, I'm sending these words. Everything is so slowed down for him. For me, it's happening way too fast to be able to hear the words. So it doesn't really feel like I'm exactly repeating it anymore, even though obviously I am, like, if we were to really, really slow it down, I am. But when it's happening that fast, and I'm so tranced out. The energy is just kind of passing through, and I'm just saying all of the things, and I kind of barely have time to actually register what I'm supposed to be saying, if that makes sense. So at that point, I just kind of let the energy take over. Right, yeah, he's mentioning this again. So the other thing that Mimcat wanted me to mention was something about the way that my mind works, and this has to do with being type. So I obviously share the same being type as Felixstrina. She is my future self. I am her past self, living, a human life here with that being type. So, one thing is that my brain, there's a train going off outside all of a sudden. One thing is the way that I communicate. I do not hear, like right now, as I'm talking to you in the camera, there is not one single verbal word at all in my head. There's not one single English word in my head. I don't, like when I'm speaking, I don't hear any of the words I'm gonna say ever. I know what I want to say. I feel what I want to say. And it always sort of feels like I am almost like lagging a little bit. I remember one time, like years ago, actually on this channel, I made a video and someone commented, like she was offended by how slowly I was speaking. She thought she thought I was speaking slowly. She was basically like, good message, but you don't have to speak to us so slowly as if we're idiots. Like, that's the way that she took it, which was really funny to me. And I just let the comment go at that time because I didn't really understand how to like explain what was happening, but now I get it a lot more. I understand my being type a lot more. I understand the way that my mind works more as opposed to the majority of other people. As far as I know, the majority of other people do hear a lot of verbal sentences in their head if they're going to be talking out loud. So yeah, it always kind of feels like there's this translation actually that has to happen. It's like, it literally feels like kind of similar to like a reading, actually. If a guide is sending me energy and then I'm saying what they're saying in English, it feels like I do that with myself all the time. So, and it's not like I'm consciously thinking about it all the time, obviously, because I do it 24/7. But it's very often actually that I will notice it for the reason that I'm struggling to like find an English word that's like the equivalent of what I'm feeling. And English sucks. It really does. English is is not, that unlimited, I guess. Even the council will sometimes complain about it, like even in Safan's channeling. I remember at one point he said something about, there's no word in English for this. So yeah, this kind of happens to me all the time when I'm just speaking. And in general, I tend to, okay, unless I'm like the council is talking to me in my head and I'm responding to them, then I'm gonna hear my own voice in my head, like I'm responding to them. If I'm thinking about, like for instance, a video I'm gonna make, which I'll often do, I do it too often. I'll think I'm gonna make this video and I'll be like going over it in my head as I'm like doing dishes or something like that. Then I'm thinking about a communication that I'm gonna have. But for instance, I never have a thought of like, I'm going to go now and do the dishes. Let's turn on the sink. Let's wash the dish. Never, ever. That is always completely silent. So unless I'm thinking about literal dialogue in my head, there isn't a single thought in my head at all. So this also actually makes it a lot easier for them. It's very easy for someone with my being type because of that way that because the way that the mind is thinking and processing things, it's very easy to go into a channeled state specifically for my being type, just because of that, because I speak in the same way that I channel. It's the exact same thing. They're sending me the words, especially like with reading, when none of it comes through as like an actual verbatim word that I'm hearing in my head, with the voice that my brain has given to whoever it is that is speaking. Safan obviously doesn't sound the way that he sounds in my head. He doesn't even speak English. So yeah, that's just explaining that's just explaining a little bit of the process for me, what it feels like when I'm actually channeling. And is there anything else? No, we're good. Okay. Yeah, so they wanted me to share that with you, and I will see you all soon in another channeling video. Bye for now.